What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 14 of season 1 of Delicious in Dungeon. We'll be going full spoilers ahead, so hopefully you've watched this episode, and we'll do a real quick recap, which was a lot of conversation, but basically, from the last episode, Laios and crew are planning on going back to the surface, but we get a jump back in time. What was it, 2 days? 1 day? Something like that?
I forgot the amount of time.
Where the group of people, the only one I can remember their name is, it was a Cabru?
Kabru or something like that,
Yeah, and Kuro. I remember those two names. That team that has been seen twice now in the show, both times dying, has been brought back from the water room where they were last left. And they got to pay off the little gnome dude who we've seen before. And they're trying to remember what the hell happened. They got killed by some fish people. They also have to go back to the surface because they've pretty much ran out of resources. They don't have any food. They're trying to figure out who these people are that they've ran into before, our main squad. And on their way out, they're walking across the water. They get an illusionary spell cast on them where they're all seeing each other as fish people. Kabru, wherever his name is, catches on that this is a spell and tries to convince everybody that they're under a spell. They end up finding out that the spell was cast on them by some corpse retrievers. Yes. And the corpse retrievers, now having been found out, basically try to make a deal with Kabru and team, but we find out that Kabru is a stone cold killer because he just murders all of them. He seems very into the idea of right and wrong, good and bad, because he had no qualms killing these people, and his team seemed to have not been surprised by that, which is also enlightening. So after killing these dudes, they end up taking their food and eating it. They're under kind of the rules that they're going to eat what they need and throw away the rest because they don't want to just be thieves like them, which I think is a little wasteful, but oh well. They end up eating. They end up discussing basically through deduction who they think the people they've ran into are. Start talking about things they've heard, things they know about Laios and crew. Really interesting to see from their lens who they think these people are. We find out Laios and Fallon's last name is what, Tudin? Was that what it was? It's something like that. Anyway, so that's interesting because they're known to be siblings by other people. And they discuss a bunch of details. I'm not going to go into every single detail, but they talk about that for a while. They end up... Wait, what do they do after that? Oh, they end up going across the water, and while they're doing that, they get attacked by a sea serpent. While that happens, they're getting ready to defend themselves. It's getting pretty hairy, and then some ninjas show up, help them out, and they're being led by Shuro, who is the samurai dude who was with Laios and crew before, somebody they had actually talked about a little bit earlier in the episode when they're discussing the people that they... basically the information they have on these people. And Shuro is looking for Fallon, and they say that I don't remember if they said they could help him or not, but they just said that they might have information, and he seems very interested in that information. Also looking a little scragglier than last time we saw him. But he's got a whole crew of like very Japanese themed people, which is interesting to see. And then we jump back to the present time, and Laios and team are trying to leave, and they're lost, I guess, and starving to death. And the episode ends there. Worth mentioning, we have a new intro and a new outro to the show, and just my humble opinion, the intro visually is cool. The song's not the best ever. The outro actually really liked the way they did it, even though it is a little simplistic, but reminded me of older animes, just having panels with a catchy song. I actually liked the way they did it. What are your thoughts on that part?
I do think the visuals in the OP are very nice. They're
very colorful.
Yeah, I like the way they did it a lot. I'm not in love with the song, so
overall
it's fine.
The original song's better.
Bump of chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually bought the first song because I like that one.
Yeah, it has kind of a Radwimps sounding Suzume style, like folky sound to it that I like.
Yeah, well, the full song's got some cool stuff that's not in that intro too. So,
I'll have to listen to it sometime.
and then the ED, I actually did like the song, and I like the still frames that were. I believe it's the manga panel, and if not, they definitely like are very similar.
Yeah.
But I like that kind of stuff. So, it's simple, gets the point across. The song was pretty upbeat for an ED, to be honest. So
Yeah, I liked it. And the panels are interesting because I always kind of like that callback to the original source material.
yeah, definitely. I mean, without it, we wouldn't have these shows. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Thoughts on the episode?
The episode was pretty good. It's definitely a setup episode, so it's not like going to be amazing or anything like that. If anything, my biggest takeaway was this party we've seen die twice apparently is not shitty. They just are not lucky.
Yeah.
Because dude definitely can kill things and people and is very knowledgeable. He's like kind of obsessed with like knowing things, it seems like.
Yeah, he's a lot more interesting now that we spent one episode with him
Yeah.
than before. Because I was like, these guys are like just kind of bumbling idiots
Yeah, well,
walking through here.
The nice part about this episode is we barely spent any time with these people, but I feel like their personalities were given to us pretty well.
Yeah.
And
I also like that they're completely different feeling than the people we know.
definitely, especially in the regards of like, they have a dwarf as well, but they kind of have the anime protagonist, hair in front of the eyes thing going on. And then their gnome is a bit of a dog lover.
Yeah.
Who thinks Chilchuck is
Greedy
a
and
greedy old man.
evil. I love when they're describing him. He's just like, I'm like,
Yeah.
I never got that feeling from him before.
Right. And then I noticed their mage has a tick where they just can't stop playing with their hair. So
I love he reminds me, I'm pretty sure my dude in Animal Crossing looks like him. That guy who looks like he's drunk.
with the lazy eyes,
Yeah. Well, he always has like a slight smirk in his eyes, just like, he looks like he's just drunk.
I think I didn't even think of that, but yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely very Animal Crossing.
He reminds me of Animal Crossing. I think my character looks similar to him,
Yeah.
the guy I made, because he's just kind of dopey looking like that too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's
I
good.
was looking at him the whole time. I was like, what does he remind me of? I'm like, I think he reminds me of my character.
Yeah.
Like, because that's such an Animal Crossing look to him. So anyway.
No, yeah. Other than that, it was nice to see them a little more fleshed out, especially because we've seen them multiple times now in intros, in the intro from last season even, and they were just kind of barely in the show. They almost felt like they were just supposed to be a joke the whole time, but
So this has happened twice now, where something has happened in the first season, or not first season, earlier season, and
half.
yeah, and I was just like, they put a lot of time into that for nothing. I don't get it. Like when he went to the paintings, I'm like, this feels deeper than it is.
Yeah.
and he just leaves it. I'm like, that's crazy. There's just like an alternate dimension that he went into, and then he's left it, and then later it comes into play, and then these guys have died twice. And I'm like, are they just going to be like an ongoing joke where they just die over and over
Right.
again? But then we saw in the promotional stuff for this part of the season and the intro, these guys more. And I'm
pretty
like,
prominent, yeah.
I'm like, oh, I think they're going to be like characters we're going to need to remember. So yeah, it's interesting, kind of the build up to it.
yeah, I'm almost getting the vibe, especially after seeing the artwork for the second half of this season, that all these different parties are eventually going to like come together for this Mad Mage part of this story, which could be interesting. I'm interested to see mostly their interactions because we have so many different personalities now that we've been exposed to.
Especially that kobold dude. He's like a real dog. He just sits there and he's just like sniffing stuff. He's like, what is this? He's just sniffing and he tells them.
Mike, I think is the gnome's name. Mike feeds me.
Yeah.
Is a good deal.
Yeah, while
like
they're
that.
chilling, she just like feeds him. He's just eating. He's just down for the cause.
And then finally seeing our samurai, who's part of Laos's party originally, and we've been told he's in love with Fallon, but then like just hasn't existed. I think it's kind of a perfect time for him to be showing up now with Fallon sort of returned. So
it makes me wonder if they're actually going to go back to the surface now, because they got people who are pursuing them. So I feel like they're going to run into each other. And
and now they're lost down there, right?
Yeah.
So they're being stalled now.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if they're even going to leave or not.
Yeah.
Because also the other team was going to leave, and now they just ran into these guys, and they're probably going to help them find them, which they also want to find them. So it kind of makes sense they would.
Yeah, it's interesting how you got all these people looking for that party right now.
Yeah.
So, and then the redhead dwarf that is in the gnomes party,
Forgot her name.
still like wants to be helpful to them, but
Namari?
also
Namari?
I can't remember
Something like that.
exactly.
Anyway.
But she obviously has like to think about her reputation and can't just like bail out on her obligations. So I wonder how this all come into play. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I'm glad this series has just become a deeper and deeper series, because the first few episodes really don't give you that.
I literally told Sarah that earlier tonight. I was like, oh, we're going to watch that episode. I was like, have you caught up? And she's like, no. I'm like, you should start watching it. And she's like, I liked it. I'm like, no, but it just gets better.
Yeah.
Like, all the fun, quirky things that you liked about the beginning of the show is misleading, because it's now starting to get a little deeper with the characters and there's actually like some objectives and some stakes that are happening where there's just a little bit more to it than just like, oh, it's just some people in a dungeon getting creative on what they eat.
Oh, for sure. Well, and then like it's just kind of checking a lot of boxes for me, anyways, just because like I love Studio Trigger, I love fantasy, I love the idea of dungeon diving and stuff like that, and it's just kind of mixing all that together. It's got elements of comedy and action and stuff like that, which is pretty typical in anime in general, but always done a lot better than a lot of Western counterparts, sadly.
Well,
so
a lot of comedy doesn't really exist anymore in a
Yeah.
lot of Western media. So, because of obviously people worried about offending people and stuff. But yeah, in anime in general, there's humor in most animes, which is always nice. You get a good variety of drama, humor, unless you're just watching a comedy or whatever. But this show in particular has a fun sense of humor. But I kind of expected it because Trigger has that quality to them already. They're pretty good at embracing wacky zaniness without being too ridiculous, but also getting serious and allowing for Kabaru to murder people right in front of everybody.
Well,
and blood coming out of the dude, and it's like, oh shit.
right, and they obviously knew what project they were getting into before they started making it. So
Yeah, sure. And I'm sure they decided to do it because they could offer something to it.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, it was a good episode. Again, it's just kind of set up. We just have to see where it goes.
Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting episode of the show so far, but I actually really liked it because it's setting up a lot. It gave us a lot of information. It also was fun to watch a separate group of people interact with each other that have a different dynamic, different personalities, different specialties, and seeing how they're seeing the dungeon and also how they're seeing the people we've been spending the show with so far, which doesn't seem the most accurate, but it's interesting the way they're viewing like Laios and his sister, and a lot of the imagery. They looked very serious or whatever. I'm like, I don't know if you guys know Laios the way I do, because like he's not like that at all in the show so far, but maybe there's a part to him we don't know about. But it was a very intriguing episode. There was a lot of intrigue and a lot of things being built up, a lot of information being dropped that would be hard to like recite all of it when I was doing the recap, because I was like, they talked about a lot of stuff here. But I really enjoyed that. Also enjoyed seeing Shuro and his squad as well, because it's just samurais and ninjas and stuff, which I thought was kind of fun. Yeah, outside of that, the action sequences, even though they're short, I think were a lot of fun. The part where they were having the illusion magic put on them was a fun little sequence where he was trying to figure it out, and the way he had to like kiss Rin, I think that's her name.
Yeah, to get her casting.
To get her to stop casting. She's mid-cast. I thought was a fun element. Also shows a little bit of their team dynamic, because she seemed like kind of like ugh, but also like it wasn't too crazy, I guess. There's like almost a playful nature to that. So, and then when they fought the sea serpent, they were getting attacked by it, and then Shiro and team came in and threw a bomb into its mouth and then cut its head off. We both love samurai shit, so just getting that quick samurai cut is always satisfying. Even now, been seeing it for years, and I just always still love it. Yeah. Otherwise, outside of like the lore and the speculation drop, pretty straightforward episode. It was crazy to watch those guys get murdered. The show is very okay with just murdering people off if it wants to. Especially when the orcs raided that place and just murdered all those guys. If this show's like, these people are bad, like, it'll just murder them off. So, because those guys were all like criminals and thieves and stuff too, and the orcs just murder them off. And then here, these guys are like, collecting corpses, bringing them up, and selling them or whatever for a reward.
Creating corpses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, they're bad. Just kill them off. So, but it's whatever. But yeah, overall, really fun episode. Cool intro and outro, and definitely can't wait to see where the show goes from now, because they're introducing a lot of new elements that did not really exist before. Like, these people have been seen before, but we didn't get any meat to their character. Now they're really just kind of dumping in a lot of new elements. So really excited to see where that goes. Yeah. Anything else?
That's about it.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode. What were your biggest takeaways? Is there something in the episode we didn't talk about you want to talk about? Let us know in the comments. Where do you think things are going from here on out? If you have any theories, unless you do know, please don't tell us. No spoilers, please. And yeah, stay tuned. We are planning on watching Sandland. We are planning on finishing Tengoku.
And eventually starting Demon Slayer when it airs.
Demon Slayer for sure. When that starts, we will be watching that. And then watching this. So if you guys have any recommendations, let us know in the comments below. But I've been Seth, this has been Chevy. And until the next episode, we will talk to you guys later.